from Rossviet to Naúka. It's an experiment airlock. So an airlock is a room with an exterior door that opens into the vacuum of space. So you might hear about airlocks a lot in the context of a spacewalk. The spacewalkers are stationed in the airlock until they open the door to exit the space station. Petelin and Prokópiev are in the Poisk airlock right now, which is what you're looking at on your screen, and they're getting ready to go out. However, today we're talking about an experiment airlock. No human beings will ever exit the space station from this particular experiment airlock, but scientific experiments will. The astronauts can load scientific research onto a platform and expose them to the vacuum of space. If you're familiar, it's similar to another part of the International Space Station called the Japanese Experiment Module, or KIBO.
Yes, we confirm EV1 injector, EV2 injector, and KSD SO open. That is correct. And now,
so to recap, Tuesday, April 18th was the first spacewalk of the series, kicked off to move the radiator from Rossviet to Naúka. And today's spacewalk plans to move an experiment airlock from Rossviet to Naúka. And the third in the series is scheduled for May 12th to get the radiator activated through its mechanical, electrical, and hydraulic connections.
For 5 minutes, and we confirm we have 4:30 left on mine and the same on mine. Copy. The excessive pressure is 0.3 and 0.3 for me as well.
The voices that you're hearing right now are of an interpreter who is translating Russian to English, the voices of the spacewalkers, and also that of mission control in Moscow. The numbers that they're going over is the depressurization. They're talking in millimeters of mercury. So you may be familiar with PSI when you're talking about pressure. They use millimeters of mercury, and they're working to get down to vacuum to be able to open the hatch and get out the door.
0.39. We copy.
И когда подойдем к 350,
Dmitri, when you are
контролируем, что в обоих в диапазоне 0.35-0.4 можно будет КСД-2 открывать.
0.35-0.4 for both of you before continuing.
360,
Okay.
у меня перепад
I have
0.38.
0.38 and I have 0.30.
Let's talk a little bit about who our spacewalkers are today. Russian cosmonauts Dmitri, Petelin, and Serguéi Prokópiev are spacewalkers of all three in the series. Prokópiev is wearing the spacesuit marked with the red stripes. You may hear him referred to as EB1 throughout our coverage today. And Petelin is in the suit marked with the blue stripes, and he'll be our EB2 today. Prokópiev and Petelin, as I was saying, are speaking in their native Russian language, so the majority of the time you'll hear the voice of the interpreter that you're hearing right now.
Okay, and you?
2.45.
2.45.
Хорошо.
Okay.
И следующая реперная точка после отключения инжектора.
After
У
injector
вас каждому придет сообщение.
deactivation, each of you will have a message that at 20 VSS will need to be full open EVA, and when the message comes on, let us know. Copy. I have 240.
While Prokópiev and Petelin are our spacewalkers today, they're also assisted by cosmonaut Andrei Fedyaev inside the International Space Station's Zvezda module, assisting our spacewalkers. He's at the controls of the European Robotic Arm, or ERA, and will drive the experiment lock over to Naúka. The European Robotic Arm is 36 feet long and serves as the main manipulator on the Russian segment. It launched along with Naúka, the Naúka module itself, aboard a Proton rocket in 2021. As for the U.S. crew, they're asleep or getting ready to be asleep, and will remain so for the majority of today's spacewalk. Before we went on air today, the spacewalkers participated in what's known as a pre-breathe exercise, essentially purging their bodies of nitrogen with some light exercise to avoid decompression sickness. This is something that scuba divers have to be careful of as well. And this is a Russian spacewalk, so again, instead of using PSI, we'll be using millimeters of mercury. And those are the numbers that you'll be hearing called out. That pre-breathe happened before we went on air today, and I think the pre-breathing procedures are just about complete. They're inside the Poisk airlock. They're bringing the airlock down to 12 millimeters of mercury, or 0.2 psi, and we'll do a leak check. If all looks good, they'll continue down to vacuum.
120.
Хорошо.
Copy.
По дисплеям сколько на инжекторах еще остается?
And on the display, how much is remaining on the injector? 15 seconds.
Принято. Когда 5-минутный счетчик
Copy.
закончится,
The official start time of the spacewalk is when the hatch opens. This is different from a U.S. spacewalk where they begin their spacewalks when the spacesuits are switched over to battery power.
экрана проверить фиксированное положение в включенном состоянии
Off.
и отсутствие сигнализации по включенному инжектору на врезе на светодиодах.
Check injectors and diodes for alarms. I have 90.
Хорошо.
Good.
Есть сообщение при давлении 20
It's
мм.
2 millimeters EVA open on the second suit message. Copy.
На первом пока нет. Так, давление 70.
The pressure is 73.
Принято. А по УДСК какое текущее давление сейчас?
And Odessa, what does the current pressure show? 0.37 on both.
Хорошо.
Copy.
So as they work to get that pressure down to about 0.2 psi, let's go over some of the tasks of the day. The overall goal, of course, is to get the experiment lock onto the Naúka module after its robotic movement from Rassvet to Naúka. Here's a step-by-step look at how they're going to do that. After exiting the airlock, Prokópiev and Petelin will make their way over to the Rassvet module to find the attached experiment airlock. They'll disconnect the assembly interface cables, basically unplugging it from Rassvet, remove its protective thermal covers, and undo the launch locks on Rassvet. Then Andrei Fedyaev at the controls of the European Robotic Arm, ERA, will move the experiment airlock over to Naúka while Petelin and Prokópiev monitor, and then move over to Naúka themselves. If time permits, and it looks like we may be able to do that today, they'll go ahead and mate the cable connections between the two, and we'll finish off the day by jettisoning some trash items away.
40. On the first VSS EVA open.
Это хорошо.
Copy.
Подойдем к 20 миллиметрам, можно будет...
When you're at 20 millimeters, you can put at to open EVA.
Here you're getting a view of Mission Control Moscow on the outskirts of the neighborhood of Moscow. We're getting a balcony view here live as the spacewalkers prepare to get out the door.
Inaudible.
Перерывчик небольшой.
Выход LOS, please repeat.
30 миллиметров.
30 millimeters.
Хорошо.
Good.
We're back now with live views of the Poisk module on the Russian segment outside of the International Space Station. We're getting ready for the official start of the spacewalk. When a Russian EVA begins, that is when the hatch opens. This is different from a US EVA when the spacesuits are switched onto battery power. That's when we consider the start of an EVA. But in this case, today we have a Russian spacewalk, and that begins when the hatch opens. And until we get to that point, our spacewalkers, Serguéi Prokópiev and Dmitri Petelin, are working on depressurization to be able to open that hatch. And in the meantime, let's take a closer look to get a better idea of what some of the tasks are today.
Russian Spacewalk 57 will be conducted by Serguéi Prokópiev, EV-1 in the red stripes, and Dmitri Petelin, EV-2 in the blue stripes. Andrei Fadiev will assist as SUDIV and European Robotic Arm ERA operator. To start the spacewalk, crew will egress the Poisk airlock, turn on the helmet video and lights, then begin translation to Strela 2, a telescopic pole that can be used as a crane to move crew and equipment around. Sergei and Dmitri will translate station forward via Strela 2 until they reach the Zarya module. From there, they'll move Nader onto the Rosyet module to the airlock. At the worksite, crew will reconfigure connectors and cables between the airlock and the Zarya module. Sergei will then remove the multi-layer insulation cover on the airlock and inspect the mating surface. Meanwhile, Dmitri will remove a protective cover. Crew will then work together to release launch locks on the nadir and zenith sides of the airlock. ERA will then release the airlock from the Zarya module and relocate it to the Naúka module. The EV crew will remove additional pieces of equipment, close MLI flaps, and set up the bundle for jettison. EV-1 and EV-2 then translate back station aft along Strela 2 to the Poisk airlock with the jettison bundle. Dmitri stows the jettison bundle on Strela 1 while Sergei retrieves a cable for the airlock and Naúka module connections. Once equipment stowage and retrieval is complete, crew will use Strela 1 to translate station nadir to the Naúka module. They'll set up at the airlock install worksite and coordinate with ERA to berth the airlock to Zarya. EV-1 and EV-2 will retrieve the cable and mate the connections from the new airlock to the Zarya panel. Once complete, they'll translate back to the Poisk airlock via Strela 1. Dmitri will retrieve the jettison bundle and ingress the operator's post of Strela 1. Dmitri will then jettison the bundle station aft. Crew will meet back up at the Poisk airlock, where they'll perform a tool inventory, inspect each other's suits, ingress, and close the hatch, ending Russian EVA 57.
We're back now with live views of the Poisk module on the International Space Station. Depressurization is complete. They're doing a final leak check on their Orlan spacesuits just to make sure everything is good before they get out the door. And then they'll open the hatch, which will mark the official start time of the spacewalk today.
Дим, но у нас пока идет контроль герметичности, можешь потихонечку фрагмент 7
While we are doing leak check,
подготовить переход на автономное питание скафандра.
you can prepare step 11 for preparing suits for standalone mode. Yes, I do have the page open.
Какое текущее давление по мономакрометру? У нас 4 минуты контроля.
We have 4 minutes already. What's the current pressure? 10 millimeters.
The spacewalkers are 2 minutes into their 5-minute planned leak check. We're back with views of Mission Control Moscow. So when we're talking about a U.S. spacewalk, we have two types of people who can talk to the crew. We have our Capcom, who speaks to the astronauts inside of the International Space Station. And we have our ground IV. That's the person that talks to the actual spacewalkers while they're outside of the space station. It's two different roles. It could get confusing who you're talking to, so we have two different positions. This is the case for Mission Control Moscow, too, which we're getting the balcony of view now. They'll be speaking in Russian, so you're going to be hearing the female voice of the translator, translating Russian to English so that we can understand, and they'll be speaking to the crew.
What's the pressure now? The pressure gauge reader?
Meanwhile, here in Mission Control Houston, we have a team monitoring the crew both inside the space station. It is their sleep period now, but we also have a dedicated team to monitoring the spacewalk. We have spacewalkers officers there in the back, and we also have our flight director, Adi Bulos, today.
Copy. Then moving to 6. So
That's Adi now, in the white shirt with the tie.
preliminary setup.
Отключаем давление на удочках, смотрим.
And checking pressure. 0.38 on the second, 0.38. Now moving to autonomous power in reverse order. That is power, pump and fan, power to standalone, and now activation again of the pump, fan and transmitter. Okay, the second one is on a standalone power, and we do have the backup pump and fan on, and the prime transmitters are activated for both. That is correct. So 1950 is the time, and 02 is 412 and 401 on the second and first, and the voltage on the second 30.9, 29 point.
Looks like we had a successful leak check. Right now, the International Space Station is in an orbital nighttime as the space station travels from west to east over the southern tip of Africa.
Turning off tow from both. So it is off, LED is off, removing power, and the second one is off, and the first one is off. Now, demating electrical umbilicals.
Первый распакован. Стиль закрыта.
Demated. O2 closed. And the second.
The spacewalkers are going through their final checklist as they get ready to open the hatch.
So, demating the electrical umbilical.
Можно сразу бортколодку к бортзаглушке.
Now put in the caps. So the first one is demated on the first, and the second one for fluid umbilicals and the storage caps installed. Storage cap installed.
The Russian Orlan suits are on battery power. Remember, this is different from a U.S. spacewalk. This might signify the start of a U.S. spacewalk. But in this particular case, this is a Russian spacewalk, so the start time of the spacewalk will happen when the hatch opens.
Storage cap installed. In process. The first one, umbilical is off, and the cap is on. And checking O2 closed. This is O2 closed. 037 and 036. That is norm for ODSK, and the pressure is greater than 360. 412 on the second. Optic valves closed.
Разрешение на открытие.
And now waiting for your go to open.
Ну что, ребят, отдаю вас Артему.
Yes, Artyom will be your next lead. So good luck on EVA, and we'll meet you again in the airlock. Thank you.
Serguéi, приветствую.
Sergey, hello.
Приветствую, Артем.
Hello, Artyom.
Добрый вечер, добрый.
Good day.
Да, вечер добрый. У нас сегодня интересно намечается. Будем
We have a lot of interesting
камеру переносить.
events today.
Так, давайте
Moving the airlock.
по традиции. А потом
Let's
приступим уже к работе.
start the routine of opening the hatch. As usual,
Все оборудование
tell me, first of all the
мимо второго застраховано.
tools, everything in MRM, from MRM to everything is tethered, secured in place. Yes.
Скафандры ваши тоже застрахованы.
And the suits are also tethered.
Скафандры застрахованы.
Yes.
Длинным.
Long tether. Yes.
Один длинный.
One long tether. Yes.
Принято. Ручка у нас на месте.
We're standing by for the opening of the hatch on the Poisk module, where two spacewalkers will emerge. They're confirming now that their tether configuration is correct and that their tool bag is packed and ready.
Дальше флажок. У нас закрытие ручки.
And
Смотрят друг на друга.
the indicator is in place, facing the mark on the handle. That's true.
Положение закрыто.
Position closed.
И защитное кольцо тоже на месте.
And the protective ring is also in place.
Так, кольцо, подрывом, да, верно?
Yes.
Принято. Тогда давайте приступать к открытию выходного люка. У нас есть...
Let's start opening the
Принято.
EV hatch. All right, very good.
Сергей,
Sergey, hold it tether.
Да. Все.
Okay.
Так, ручка. Положение рабочим. Устанавливаю навал привода. Установил.
Installing warm cold switch.
Все 4 винта выкручены.
And so 4 screws are out.
Так, петли, да, мы, как вы сказали, проверены.
So checking.
Все, вращаю ручку.
So I'm rotating the handle to open position now.
Ролики выходят из зацепления.
The rollers are removing from grooves. Done.
Работаем уже нормально.
The clutch is operating.
Появится щель небольшая на люке. Просьба доложить.
Let us know when the hatch starts opening.
Так,
All right?
рукоятка на месте. Ручка
All in place. The handle in place. The pusher. Copy.
пытаюсь. Еще есть сопротивление.
Some resistance still. Holding a little bit.
Так, попробую открыть.
We'll try to open.
Линейку открыть, приоткрыть.
So opening now.
Только приоткрыться.
So the
Принято. Приоткрыто время ВКД пошло.
okay, we start the EVA time now.
Принято.
Copy.
Так, держите.
Holding on.
Okay, I'm turning now.
Tightening up. Copy.
And the hatch is open, signifying the beginning of today's spacewalk to relocate an experiment airlock from Rossviet to the Naúka module. The beginning of the spacewalk started as the International Space Station was flying over the northeast edge of South Sudan in an orbital nighttime. Soon we'll see the door fly open and our spacewalkers can begin to come out.
Opened. The tabs are in the activated position. Copy. Installing. And remember, make sure that the ties do not get in the way.
The official start time of today's spacewalk is 3 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, with cosmonauts Serguéi Prokópiev and Dmitri Petelin getting ready to get out the door. The hatch is open.
Let's see if it closes the gap. Looks like it does not. No, it doesn't. Just like this. It doesn't quite reach. Okay, let's try this. There we go. Excellent. Okay, that's much better. Make sure that the indicators match. Okay. Maybe we'll turn it through. Let's try that, 180. A little bit more. No, doesn't reach that way. Well, I guess it works in this one position then. See how it works. Not in this position. Okay. So my indicators matched up. Yes, we're pushing it in. Into the groove. Yes, on my side as well. Okay, the protective ring is installed. Okay, let's step into egressing.
Egressing is another name for exiting the International Space Station. Dmitri Petelin is in the suit with the blue stripes. He's our EV2 today, and he'll be the first one out the door. We're in a momentary handoff between our communications satellites and are now getting live views of Mission Control Moscow.
Tether goes outside.
The cable bundle is tethered to me.
Уже так же. Так, мой помощь. Перемены длины.
Okay, my adjustable tether.
Лоубэк тоже за мне зафиксирован.
Crew log bag is also tethered to me. Repeat that, please.
На первом crew log bag зафиксирован.
EV1 has the crew log bag tethered. Okay, copy.
We're back with our live views of the Poisk airlock that our spacewalkers are working to get out of today, or egressing. You can see some movement down by the red words as our EV2 is the first one out the door.
Adjustable tether is out, and I am egressing. Okay, I've egressed.
Так, и, значит, СТО.
It's a dark view as the International Space Station is in an orbital nighttime, but if you look to the right of the airlock, right at the center of your screen, you will begin to see our spacewalkers exit the hatch, or egress as you may hear it referred to during our coverage today. Those red words are the upside down Cyrillic. In Russian, it says the Poisk airlock.
Dmitri, Serguéi, on your go. When ready, your go to deactivate the sublimators. Activating sublimators. I have activated the sublimator. Indicator is on. That was for EV1. Okay, copy. I'm going to the edge, and I'm going to, now I'm also working with the sublimator. EV2 sublimator is activated. Okay, copy, thank you. Serguéi, Dmitri, when the cooling begins, put the heat handle to 0 and the third tumbler activated. And that's for the second toggle switch once you feel the cold. Okay, copy.
Exiting the hatch is the first step in our spacewalk here today. We've got a number of busy tasks throughout the 6.5-hour estimated total runtime of our spacewalk today. But first, they're not going to head out to the work site quite yet. Their overall goal is to move the experiment airlock over from Rosviet over to the Naúka module. But first, as soon as they get out the hatch, they need to configure their spacesuits, perhaps do some buddy checks, look at their partner's spacesuit, make sure that everything is working well, and then they need to work on the hatch itself. They have to install a protective ring. It's a seal on the Poisk hatch to protect it from any debris while the hatch is open. On the Quest airlock, where we do the U.S. spacewalks, there's a similar protection in place, but instead of a protective ring, Quest has a hatch cover over on the U.S. side. They'll also need to get their tethers and tool bag configured before they take off towards their work site.
On EV2, Temperature control handle to 6, then pull off, and 3.
Прямо в холоде, включаем АСТР.
And activating ASTR in cold.
Так, первый зафиксировался снаружи.
EV1 is tethered outside.
Это Serguéi.
Copy, Serguéi.
Так, включен АСТР. На втором скафандре.
ASTR is active on EV2. EV1 is out. Copy, Dmitri. I am outside.
Нахожусь ранее СТО. Оставляю здесь платочку. Скажите.
I am by the GSTM Strela 1.
So our spacewalkers today are cosmonauts Serguéi Prokópiev and Dmitri Petelin. Let's take a look at some quick facts about them. Prokópiev is the commander of the International Space Station. This is his 5th spacewalk of his career, having previously spent 29 hours, 51 minutes outside of the space station over the course of his 4 previous spacewalks. Petelin is on his 3rd spacewalk today, having spent 14 hours, 20 minutes suited up in the vacuum of space over the course of 2 spacewalks. This is the 262nd spacewalk in support of space station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades, the 5th spacewalk of 2023, and the 3rd spacewalk for Expedition 69. You can see that Prokópiev has the red stripes on his spacesuit. He's our EV1, and Petelin is in the suit with the blue stripes, our EV2, and the first one out the door today.
Heka has been activated on EV2. ERCA is also activated. LED is on. Copy. Same for me. Heka and ERCA are activated.
Значит, КПУ и крыло Б на вас зафиксированы, и мы готовы.
Okay, the KPU and the Krulak bag are tethered. We are ready to translate towards MRM-1. Not quite.
Like we talked about a little bit earlier, before they can head out to their work sites, they need to configure their spacesuits. They need to make sure that they're comfortable over the course of their approximately 6-hour, 30-minute spacewalk. They also are going to do some buddy checks and make sure that their Heka cameras are on, or cameras that are mounted onto their helmets that allow us to see from their point of view. We expect Prokópiev. You may see the number 16 burned into the video when we're getting his point of view, and Petelin will have number 22.
Выхода из тени 2 минуты.
Принято.
Copy.
Наверное, вокруг поста отходим.
Around. So you've decided to translate via the faster, shorter path through the operator post? Yes. Across the operator post. Handrail 64. Just make sure you follow the tethering protocol. You should have the short tether in front of you. And and that boom is not operating, so you can just watch for it. And here comes the sun.
And you can see it on your screen too. As they said, here comes the sun. The International Space Station is moving into an orbital daytime. The spacewalkers are now working to move over to their work site on the Rosviet module. In their procedures, they're going to use the Strela 2 boom. Strela means arrow in Russian. It's a telescoping pole that crew can use to move around. To give you a better picture of what I mean by telescoping, think of a bicycle seat. It can extend up and down if you need to adjust it, but most of the time it's locked into place. That's kind of how Strela 2 operates. Strela 1 is on the Poist module as well. They'll use the boom to travel along its path to get to the Zarya module, then carry on to the Rosviet module where the experiment airlock is. It looks like there was some chatter about possibly another path that they could take over there too.
Serguéi, I did not copy. The temperature was high on the second suit. Okay, copy. It's like that other time. The sensor is biased. Yeah, so that's why the sublimator is on. Serguéi, you've gone a little past the grapple fixture. Yes. So I have a recommendation for you. When you tether to 6034, turn your head towards the docking interface. And then you can go under the BVP boom. Okay, yes. That's EV2. Dmitri, so I'm talking to you. Just turn with your feet up. Okay, and I'm pretty much here already. Yes. Here's the target. It's pretty easy to access it, but just these struts are here in the way.
Spacewalkers Prokópiev and Petelin on your screen now. You can see the spacesuit with the blue stripes. That's our EV2, Dmitri Petelin. And going sort of behind to the left side of the Poisk airlock, you have Prokópiev, our EV1, in the spacesuit with the red stripes. They're configuring their tethers right now to get on the move, to move from the Poisk airlock over to their first work site of the day, the Rossviet module. So while we're waiting for our live views to come back, let's take a look at the work sites that they'll be working at today. As I mentioned, they came out of the Poisk airlock. They'll be moving over to the Rossviet module, which you can see in the gray words on the left. And then you see the European robotic arm there, ERA. It's going to move the airlock. You can see it highlighted in red. Now, the Naúka airlock, going to move it over to the right side, the Naúka module. And these are the work sites that we're going to be using today.
Okay, so shall we continue the translation? Yes. Let's keep moving. We have just patchy comm right now, so we are not getting video. Okay, we're translating along the Strela. Repeat your last. Did you turn off your headlight? I think one is on. What about me? I have one left? No, two on both sides. No, those are my Orlan ones. That's what I'm talking about.
While we're waiting to get our live views back, you may hear the two female voices. Those are actually Russian to English translators that you're hearing. Those are the voices of the spacewalkers as they're communicating between themselves and with this view that you see here, Mission Control Moscow. They're talking to the folks there on the ground. It sounds like they're beginning to make their move via the Strela 2 boom over to the Rossviet module. And you can see the spacewalkers at the bottom of the screen using the Strela boom to assist as they move over to their work site.
So I've pretty much reached the end of it, and where do we translate over? Past the black rings. Okay, past the black rings.
And here we are with those helmet camera views. You can see the number 16 burned into the lower right side of the video. That means you're looking from the point of view of Serguéi Prokópiev.
Tethering to the GSM стрела. Tethered. Serguéi, can you copy me? Yes, absolutely. I hear you loud and clear. What about us? Now it's better. There was a lot of noise. I want to remind you that on the pressure adapter there's a fish hook. You are next to it now. It's under your right foot, Dmitri. Yes, I see it. Just remember that you cannot tether to it. Okay. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so I'm leaving. Can you take a look? Does it look good? Yes? Yes, like this and a little bit further. Maybe that's a bit challenging.
You can see our two spacewalkers in this overall view on the Strela boom making their way to the work site. You may hear the word translate. Where do we translate to? Where are they going? This means the path that they're going to take to best configure their tethers so they don't get tangled, and the ground is also giving them some warnings of what they should not be attaching their tethers to. Sometimes there's some sensitive hardware outside of the International Space Station. They're making their way over to the Rosviet module. Once they get there, they're going to demate some cables, remove an MLI cover, which is a protective thermal blanket around the airlock, remove some protective covers, undo some launch locks, and then we'll get the ERA involved, the European Robotic Arm, so that Andrei Fedyaev inside of the International Space Station can begin to move it over to the Naúka module. In the meantime, they're still making their way over to Rosviet before they can begin these tasks.
It's a bit problematic here. Yeah, honestly, I don't see a path. Artyom, do you have some recommendations? Maybe go on the right? On my right? Maybe go on the opposite side. Go to MRM. And then you want to go the way that you translated last time, during the last EVA? Yes. I understand about the fish hook, but I don't see where else. Since I can't hold on to the fish hook, I have to jump over to that other side. Okay, copy. Let's try the way you did it last time. Okay, let's go in that direction then. In any case, stick together, translate together. Okay, yes, let's stick together. So we're going to MRM? Yes. And you've tethered the GSU? Yes, we have. Okay.
All right, I am translating behind the Strela. And I'm holding to the handrails, cargo handrails. So I was smart going underneath the Strela. I think you're fine. All right. Now I'm out. And I am hooking to the circular handrails. Yes, and the second valve should be next to it, should be nearby. All right, I'm activating it on this side. I'm just trying to squeeze by. And I have hooked myself to the handrail. With something. Yes, so we want to make sure that you have the tether and then watch your foot, and I can feel it. Could you please go back and assist? Yes, I'm going to look. I'm going to see how we've hooked. I have hooked. I can actually remove that tether. You'll just need to untangle it. And it's behind your back, so it's not a very convenient move. Just wait. Let me help. Yes, so we are good on the time, so don't be in a hurry. We copy. Just untangling it like that. Do you have it on your side now?
We're seeing a wide view of the Russian segment of the International Space Station now. Our spacewalkers in the center left of your screen.
It's behind your backpack. Okay, now we're good. Are you done? Yes, hold it. Yes, I'm holding it. This tether is for securing Strela. Yes. There is one. I believe it's the second one, right? Okay. Then I am going to translate using circular handrails along MRM1. Okay. There was a lanyard somewhere. I would like to reach it. I think this is the one. Yes, I need to secure myself by this lanyard, and now I actually put it back. I'm running around ХФП 2. Copy. So, as agreed, you'll go to number 29, and Dima will approach you later. Okay, copy. Are you managing? Okay. I suggest you go up. Above your head, and then that will take you immediately to ХФП 2 panel. Okay. Okay. I positioned myself next to the panel 29. Okay, copy, Sergey. Sergey, can you take a look at the latches and the adapter? Yes, I can actually go down a little bit. Please do. All right, while Dima is still translating. Yes. Let's take a look. See, make sure that all the retainers are locked. Okay. Okay. I am next to the adapter retainer lock. If you can see the TV signal, yes, we can see the handle is closed, the tab is down, and also the adapter is sits tight. Exactly. And now I need to check the bolts. Yes. Yes, make sure that they have not moved since the last EVA and that the lock wiring is in place.
We're starting to get views of the airlock. That's that bulbous item that you see in front of you. The first steps of the day are to demate some cables on that airlock, remove thermal covers, remove some other protective coverings that it has, and remove its launch locks before it can be moved by the European robotic arm.
On operations with the connectors. We need to wait for just a little bit. Okay. And also, the wing locks are tightened. It was done manually, but they sit in place. Okay. All right. Go back to panel number 29, and we'll stand by for a little bit. We need to get a go to work with the connectors. All right. I'm translating back. Well, now let's describe what I see here. The cable is secured. It's with a wire tie. It's attached to the strut, or rather the lever that will be removed, and that's number one. And then goes, there are two Lirka lock pins. Yes, and then you should see the dummy. Yes, I see one dummy. I believe that Serguéi will need to rotate, and probably you'll have to translate to dummy. No. Go ahead and secure the lock to the lever, and then Lirka is next, and one more wire tie on handrail 150. And what do you think? Do we need to remove all of it? Well, we will figure it out in a minute. Now, show me, where do I need to mate it to? You mean where I should be connecting it? Well, here is the panel, yes. Yes, you will have to free the entire length. You're right. All right, then. Those wire ties will go to our common bundle. No. The way it works, they're actually wrapped around the handrail and secured there.
You're getting a great look at the airlock that we're going to be working with so much during the spacewalk today. That's the white object on the left side of the screen. If we pan over to the left a little bit more, you'll kind of see its spherical end. That is the airlock that we're going to be moving over to the Naúka module today. First task, they're going to be demating cables between Rossviet and the experiment airlock, that white thing that you're seeing there on your screen. When you unplug something, the end that you just unplugged is loose, and you can't have loose cables floating around while the experiment airlock is being moved. So they're going to plug those loose ends into the panel onto the airlock itself just to stow them away.
We are still waiting because the command is still in progress. It didn't go through yet. All right, but I can release the wire ties from the cable.
Our spacewalkers are going over their game plan right now.
No. Be very careful. Try not to touch the cover. Try not to grab onto it. Which one are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the lock cover, yes. Try to make sure you hold in the rails, handrails only. Okay, this one secured. Yes, one is. All right, I am taking the lock pin. Copy. All right. I removed it and I'm throwing it into a trash bag. Okay. You are going to proceed working with the connectors. Reminder, first we demate to 1 on panel number 2, and then a 2-2 on panel FP2. Copy 2-1 and then 2-2. Yes, after you disconnect to 1, you'll hand it over to Serguéi. Understood?
Так, 2-1.
2-1. Okay, I want to make sure I want to mix it up. Actually, we can even see the arrows.
A moment ago, you saw a view of the control panels, essentially the electrical sockets where they're going to be unplugging these cables. They're going to do so one at a time and then hand it off to the next spacewalker. They have a series of 6 that they need to demate.
Do we need to cover the connector here? Is it wire tied already? Yes, it is secured. All right, then you go to cover it. Very good. In work. I'm ready to receive it. I'm holding it. Do you need some length here? Let me try. Yes. You will be made in 2910, but only after 22 will be disconnected. So should I just leave this connector alone? Yes, for now, yes. You need to stand by for now. Okay. It's getting hot on the sun. All right, the sunset in 20 minutes. All right, Serguéi actually released all the lengths he could get. I see.
You're getting a view now of the plugs that they're working to demate from the module that they're working with. They're unplugging the equipment airlock, the experiment airlock from the Rosviet module. They need to unplug them so that the experiment airlock can move freely with the European robotic arm. This is a task expected to take about 15 minutes. They're working diligently. The voices that you hear are interpreters speaking on behalf of the spacewalkers, but also the voice of mission control. You can hear them working together to make sure that they're unplugging the correct things, handing them to their fellow spacewalkers, and getting the task done. After this task, they'll move on to remove some protective covering from the experiment airlock. This includes multi-layer insulation cover from the end of the airlock and some other protective covers that protects it from the environment of space.
And then we'll deal with the caps. Okay, understood. All right. Then I'm demate in Hyperpay 2-2. Go ahead. Am I doing it right? Yes, go ahead and disconnect. 22 is demated. Copy. All right. Unintelligible. No. If the cable has a slack, that could be an obstruction to releasing the connector. You need to move it. Well, now you are go to mate to 1 to 210 to 2910. Copy. 21 to 2910.
While we're getting these helmet camera views, we're seeing not only the plugs that they're working with to demate from the experiment airlock, but we're also getting some views of the Earth down below. The International Space Station is flying over the South Pacific Ocean right now.
It's a bit strange. I cannot really secure it fully on that cap. What about the tab? The lock is open. I'm trying to secure it, and actually the position seems to be locked, but it doesn't really help. It looks like the lock doesn't hold it properly. All right, let's try it one more time. If you feel like it's still not copyright, and then go ahead and secure it on site.
Like we were talking about earlier, just because you unplugged it doesn't mean it can stay that way. When the European robotic arm moves this experiment airlock, the wires can't be floating all around in the vacuum of space, so they're securing them to the airlock itself, sometimes plugging it into a dummy panel in order to get them out of the way.
29-9. 29-9, proceed with demating in work. Copy. And you will remate it to the adjacent dummy. Okay.
Our spacewalkers well underway on this task, having demated the majority of the cables that on their to-do list today.
To remove it from that cap, but without any force, it will sit tight. Okay. Well, there is like a tiny bar inside the dummy, and that bar has a small protrusion onto the outside. It's like a little ball on it. Okay. Can you try to close it one more time? No. What I'm trying to explain is it has some travel, but it would not get off. In order to take it off, then I'll need to apply a serious force.
Okay, a retainer is also Okay.
We're now 1 hour into the 6.5-hour planned Russian spacewalk today that began at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The beginning of the spacewalk, of course, beginning when the hatch opened for this Russian EVA. Our spacewalkers, Serguéi Prokópiev, our spacewalker with the red stripes, EV1, and Dmitri Petelin with the spacesuit with the blue stripes, are EV2, the 260-second spacewalk in support of space station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades, the 5th spacewalk of 2023 out of the International Space Station, and the 3rd spacewalk for Expedition 69 out of the International Space Station.
Well.
The spacewalk is well underway. Their first task is just about complete, if not already. They translated or made their way over from the Poisk airlock over to the Rosviet module where the experiment lock lives. It's going to be moved over today to the Rosviet module, but the first task was to demate all the cables connecting the two. It has to be totally unattached from Rosviet in order for it to move over to the Naúka module. And that first task of the cables is complete, if not already complete, or almost complete. Next, they're going to move on to removing some thermal insulation covers.
You are now covering the half of the connectors. You are correct.
Сергей, спасибо. Смотрите, мы пока сейчас идем по плану, что Сергей, ты размещаешься в или, может быть, у тебя есть возможность снять защитную крышку и кожу к смешению ФП-4.
You are going to take the cover and proceed to the target.
Так, это... А он здесь рядышком со мной, в принципе, я по пути все равно...
It's right here. I will collect it anyway when I am translating that way.
То тогда мы не торопимся.
Well, we're not in a hurry, just in case.
Установлены.
For a moment at the end of the airlock, you saw that orange cover right at the end of the airlock. That's what we're going to be working to remove now in this task.
Yes, it's secured very well here with a pretty bow. I think I need a cutter. Or maybe not. I see the moon, and she is a stunner.
And you just heard a call that one of the spacewalkers saw the moon and that it was wonderful. You can kind of see it peeking between the Earth and the space station, that tiny dot over there in the distance.
You are correct, FFP4.
Поэтому надо его сначала застраховать, потом снимать. Картинка камеры.
Inaudible from Moscow. Is it overheated? Do I need to turn it off? The camera for now. It's already off. But the hacker is on. I am securely located close to FFP4 connector, removing the cover. I'll take my adjustable tether now. Copy.
In your view now is a view of that thermal cover right on the end, the orange that they're going to be working to take off. This is their second step in an effort to free the experiment airlock from the Rossviet module. Previously, they demated some cables that connected the two, and now they'll be taking off some insulation layers. Protects the experiment airlock from the harsh environment of space.
Да, мягкий вот этот поручень на FT, он легко оторвался у меня.
Yes, and this particular gap spanner on the MLI
Знаешь, какой еще второй вариант? Попробовать трасса
almost broke.
маленьким карабином страховать попышку.
Also, you could use your very small tether to secure it to the lug. Yes, I could. I could use my red.
Не надо, потому что мы потом будем
No,
носить этот
not the bigger red. No.
эту укладку свернутую, поэтому надо...
You will use it for your bundle later.
Я снял, значит, крышку с ПП-4. Да, с ПП-4.
Okay, here, the cover from HFP 4 connector will go here. I figured it out.
Оранжевая внутри фольга. Круглая крышка, которая...
It's an orange, round, orange cover.
Термопольный еще осталось.
Здесь ничто, не нужно фотографировать вот эти.
Would you like me to take some pictures here of the connectors?
Ну, можно. Ну, можно это совместить с
You can.
агрегатным способом.
Or you can combine it with your photography of the docking assembly.
Я сейчас проволочным держателем за бабушку и за...
Okay, I'll use the wire tie holder and then use the loop
Принято, хорошо.
and the gap spanner.
Так, у меня тут тоже тогда получается вот этот квадратный прямоугольный форос, крышка, мишени.
And the configuration I'm getting here is almost a square, at least rectangular. I will secure it to the loop.
И далеко с ним ходить не будем, с этим рэпом.
Она, в принципе, не проходит, нормально держится. На рэп.
And you don't have to go through the loop, actually. Oh, it's already secured well enough. Now the target.
Так, ну все. Теперь точно не улетит.
That's it. It is properly secured.
Ну и, наверное, надо теперь.
It's not going to do a bump.
Принято, спасибо, Сергей.
Да, карабин сейчас меня держит и проволочный фиксатор.
So you may be hearing Mission Control Moscow and our spacewalkers talking about MLI. This stands for multi-layer insulation, and it's essentially a blanket that protects it from the harsh environment of space, micrometeoroid, orbital debris, things like that. We're going to want to remove it before we can move the experiment airlock over to Naúka.
You can also
Затени чуть больше 5 минут.
finish up here. And we're getting closer to the eclipse. Copy.
На свету осмотреть, да, на свету стараться осмотреть стык.
Okay, do some inspection here. Copy. We'll do so.
Большая. Ого.
It is big.
Она внутри не закрыта. Ну да.
It was not closed.
Так. Освободили FT. Одеяло.
MLI is read up now.
Какая мишень разноцветная. Так, снимаем.
I like the color orange.
Да, полностью снимаем чехол и по возможности не трогаем руками стыковочный агрегат.
Yes, we remove the MLI cover and try not to touch the docking assembly.
Да, включаем глиссеры и начинаем поэтапный осмотр.
Turn on the glycer
Сначала перевалочных поверхностей.
and do a minute inspection of the mating surfaces.
Не осталось.
See that there is no pod? I don't see any.
У нас конус тоже чистый.
The cone is clear. Should be.
Ну, вот сейчас стараюсь снять.
Okay, I am removing.
Там какая-то ниточка вон на той стороне есть.
I see a piece of thread, but not on the mating surface.
Значит, не вижу.
But still, it's there.
Вот, где написано УК-4 ПРМ.
It says UK4PRM. That's where the thread is.
Нет, это на наружной поверхности, это не стык.
Well, as long as it's not the mating service.
So our spacewalkers, Prokópiev and Petelin, are preparing the experiment airlock for its travel over to the Naúka module. Let's talk a little bit about what this airlock is. So the airlock that they're moving weighs 1,792 pounds. Previously, on April 28th, they had moved over a radiator, very similar task to what they're doing today. That radiator weighs 1,091 pounds, and you can kind of see what they look like and where they'll be positioned in this graphic here. The airlock and the radiator that was moved over in a previous spacewalk was launched on the STS-132 mission on the Space Shuttle Atlantis, attached to the Soviet module where our spacewalkers are right now. That's their workstation. That launched in May of 2010. And a fun fact, NASA astronaut Steve Bowen was on that mission. He's aboard the International Space Station now, but is not participating in the spacewalk today. You're getting kind of a sneak peek into the inside of that experiment airlock now that the multi-layer insulation cover has been removed. We're an hour and 15 minutes into the spacewalk, and it looks like they're well underway on their second task. They're getting that blanket together now.
Further away.
Освободил полностью FT-дему.
MLI is completely away and released. Again, go over the connectors, please. No FOD, no contamination. No, everything is in pristine condition.
Да, камеры работали.
And record, please, and do photography. As long as we're still in insulation, please take some pictures and do the glisser. And UFP-4 also. UFP-4 do imagery without any covers. Take a video and pictures. I did already. Maybe I could do some more in the light. Okay, now you may turn on the lighting. And then you get to use your long wire ties that you took such great pains to prepare.
The International Space Station just moved into an orbital. Nighttime, you can hear them talking about turning their cameras on, also using this opportunity to take photos and video of that experiment airlock. Now that the thermal cover is off, they want to use that opportunity to get some great imagery of that. That orange cover that they have in their hands, that MLI cover that was at the very end of the airlock, that's actually part of the jettison bundle, so they're going to be getting rid of that at the end of the day. They have 5 items from today's spacewalk that they'll jettison away from the International Space Station, and about 5 items from previous spacewalks that they want to get rid of as well. This is going to be the last task of the day, is jettisoning that bundle away, so they're not quite ready for that yet. But that orange cover that you see there will be jettisoned.
Release it and reposition. Here is the long wire tie. Okay, we secure it now. Okay, pull it out this way. Okay. There are 2 of them here, correct? There is wire tie made out of 2 smaller pieces and 1 wire tie, 3 of them tied together. And this is what you need? Yes. I take this. I will release the KPU tool carrier for now. And you'll have to wind this around. Will do.
Сейчас где-то не будет видеосвязи.
At some time, we're going to lose video coverage. Yes, and we'll be doing all the restraining here. Right now, we are following along the EVA timeline. We're just on time. Okay, you will put this on like this. Do I need to pull? Or it's already straightened out? Okay, we can secure it later. We don't have to do it right now. Okay, I'm holding and you can tie. Here.
We're in a momentary handover between our satellite communication. At the moment, we expect to get our video and audio back here very shortly. In the meantime, we've got these views of Mission Control Moscow. This is a view from their balcony, and they're working with our spacewalkers to get them the tasks that they need to do and answer any questions that they might have.
Okay, I'm taking the tether. Everything fine here or not?
Мы только твою подвязали, получается.
Let me see. I think we tied it securely.
Давай сейчас. Привет. Куда летит?
I think it is not going anywhere. Here are some loops.
We're nearly an hour and a half into the spacewalk today. It began at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, beginning when the hatch opened on the Poisk airlock. We're talking a lot about airlocks here today. So Poisk is the airlock on the Russian segment where the Russian spacewalks begin. That's for people to come out of. It's a room where we bring the room back down to vacuum so that we can open the door, match the pressure of the vacuum of space. However, the task of today is to relocate an experiment airlock. So human beings are never going to come out of that airlock, only experiments. It's very similar to the Kibo module over on the Japanese segment. Last week, we moved a radiator over from the Rosviet module over to Naúka, and now we're going to do the exact same thing with this experiment airlock.
I think it's all right.
The estimated time for today's spacewalk is about 6.5 hours. It looks like our spacewalkers are slightly ahead of schedule as they work on their second task of the day.
Какая? Маленькая? Да. А я не подвязывал, я большая вылетела.
The small cover or the large cover? Which one was here?
Ну, давай, хотя да, с ней лучше не перемещаться. Потому что тут не очень надежно.
It's not really well secured here on the loop. Maybe we should do better than this.
Да, я бы как бы проволокой забабу, что...
We'll use the wire tie, secure it to the loop. Okay, I'm twisting the wire right now.
Расплескалось в разные стороны.
Inaudible.
Ну все.
Here we go.
Зафиксироваться от него.
Now just restrain here.
Back with you now with live views. We're getting the point of view of our EV1 today.
we see the bundle, you press it down really snug. That is very
Excuse me, we're getting a view from our EV2. This is Dmitri Petelin. He's in the blue suit. We're looking across at our spacewalker in the red suit, Prokópiev.
If you need some more time to get the bundle just right, we have some spare time. Okay, at least a couple minutes extra.
This bundle that they're talking about is the group of trash that they're going to be jettisoning off of the International Space Station at the end of the spacewalk. They want to make sure that everything is packed in, because they will have some more items to pack in as well before the end of the spacewalk.
And then locks 3 and 5. And then we're going to have to talk through it. Probably have to work with the airlock locks. And then which plan are we going to do? Sergei, you're going to try to give a push first? I think I will start with 1. And Dmitri will be nearby with a pry bar. Yes, let's call it a space crowbar. Okay, copy. And then in 15 minutes, we'll have an LOS, 7 to 8 minutes, not video only, but audio as well. Don't know how many of the operations will get done by that point, but just FYI. Okay, I understand. Then let's begin the movement. Are you ready, Dmitri? Yes, I am.
Продолжили работу, да?
I didn't copy that, Artyom.
Продолжили работу, я смотрю, начали движение.
You are continuing the movement? Yes, you're not supposed to come here, Dmitri. You go to that other side. Well, I'm coming here to that barrier, on the circular handrail. I have positioned myself. There's good access to the lock. Copy. So if you look on the left, okay, be sure to tether an audible. Okay, copy.
Дим, можешь приступать, потому что мы собирались вот по плану сначала тяги расстыковывать, а потом центральный замок.
When you're ready, you are go to proceed, Dmitri. So first, we demate the launch locks, and then disengage the locks. Okay, I am in the area of the lock. Okay. I guess I should activate the GoPro. Well, it's dark and nothing is happening. So maybe it's too soon. Well, prior to the disengagement.
So
we're going to engage in try to position yourself in a way that it is convenient to push at that center lock.
Our spacewalkers are over halfway done with their task to disconnect the experiment airlock from the Rossviet module. Once that's all set and done, Andrei Fedyaev inside the International Space Station will use the ERA, European Robotic Arm, to move the experiment airlock over to the Naúka module. These spacewalkers will get a brief break as they watch the experiment airlock move over, but then they're going to go over to the Naúka module to do an assist as Andrei Fedyaev inches it closer and closer for its installment.
The airlock because we are beginning the demating process. Okay, copy. I'm tethered to MRM1. Okay, copy.
Так, снимаю чеку. Застраховал чеку, снимаю ее.
I have tethered the cover and I am removing it.
Так, ну, а тут на лесочке еще.
It's also attached by fish line.
Не получится их сорвать?
Is it possible to rip them?
Пробую.
Okay, I'll try.
Да, сорвалась леска.
Yes, the fishing line tore off. Okay, copy.
Убираю. Трэш-бак.
I'm removing the cover into the trash bag.
Так, далее еще страхую, да, вот это получается.
Now I tether it again. Right, this next element. No, this element remains. You pull it and remove it. So nothing else gets taken off here, correct? Nothing else should be tethered?
Ага, все понял.
Inaudible. Okay, I understand.
Так, хорошо, пробую.
Prokópiev and Petelin are working on one of the last steps before the airlock can move. They're launch locks that held the experiment airlock and the radiator in place during their launch on the STS-132 shuttle in 2010. They were removed before the radiator was relocated back in April and must be done before this experiment airlock can move as well. So far they've disconnected the electrical cables, removed protective blankets, and this is the last step before Andrei Fedyaev, inside the International Space Station, can robotically relocate the experiment airlock to Naúka.
Compartment. Okay. Okay, so then I'm moving to the next one.
Замок номер 3 у нас раскрыт. Остался теперь 5.
Lock number 3 is open. Let's go to lock number 5.
Prokópiev and Petelin are working together on this task of removing the launch locks. Our EV2, Petelin, is removing 2 locks. You just heard him call out number 3. We have number 5 on that side as well. And on the other side of the airlock, Prokópiev is working on another launch lock for a total of 3.
I am by lock number 5. Performing the same actions. Copy.
The spacewalker is working diligently to remove these launch locks. They're working a little bit ahead of the timeline, and as soon as this task is complete on the go from Mission Control Moscow, Andrei Fedyaev will slightly move the airlock away from the Rosviet module, their work site that they're at right now, and then our spacewalkers will check out the disengagement and make sure that all is well before a full movement over to the Naúka module.
Out of video for about 15 minutes and down audio for about 7 to 8 minutes.
Понятно.
I understand.
До выхода из тени, сейчас давайте договорим.
And let me just finish.
До выхода из тени у нас остается 9 минут.
Prior to installation, we have 9 minutes. In eclipse. So when you get into installation, turn off the helmet lights. And actions for the central lock, I propose that we wait until we get video back. When we have reliable video, then we can begin with the central lock. In the meantime, you can work with the rods, okay? The second one came out, and this lock is open. Copy.
Тогда, в принципе, почти 18 минут надо будет ждать появления.
Well, then, and you will have to wait for about 18 minutes, approximately, for the video to go AOS, so you will just have to rest. Okay, we understand. Copy. And here's another plan. If we've demated the rods and we're not working with the central lock, Dmitri, maybe you can translate to Serguéi? Should we try to remove the rods completely? While the airlock is in place, it's very hard to access them. It's possible, but it's not easy. Yes? Then I can translate over to Serguéi in the meantime. Okay, copy, but what should he tether to? On the side of the docking port? Or maybe I should go over to Dmitri.
Там, может быть, со стороны транспортировочного кронштейна.
Maybe by the transportation bracket. Yeah, we can translate over onto the bracket. Well, I am on the U.S. segment side now. Okay, I guess I can move to the docking port side. You can go forward and translate down the transportation bracket. Okay.
Сейчас начинает у нас уже заканчиваться связь.
Now we're about to go LOS for audio and video. So once we're back AOS, I will let you know. Okay, copy. We're standing by.
So we've lost our live views and audio with the International Space Station and our spacewalkers for the moment. This is a slightly more extended loss of signal than we might be used to, but it was planned and expected. You heard our spacewalkers chatting with Mission Control Moscow about this extended loss of signal. They were making a plan for what they should be doing in the meantime, and it looks like they might be able to do some tasks ahead of time while we're not able to communicate with them. This includes removing some tie rods and some other closing up some flaps, some other things, some other get-ahead tasks that we would have liked to do while we had signal with them, but they're more than welcome to do on their own. So they might do that. They might take a breather. Spacewalking is very physically taxing. They have the ability to rest anytime that they need to, maybe take some photos of the Earth down below if the opportunity presents itself.